Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Village of Monroe's board meeting of July 18th, 2023. Mayor Dwyer could not be here tonight, so I will be hosting the meeting and getting a lot of help from my fellow trustees. So the first thing on our agenda is public.
Do you want to pledge?
No, that goes we're going to do that afterwards. Yes. I'd like to have a motion to open up a public hearing for the renewal of the cable franchise with Cablevision of Wappinger Falls.
Carl will make that motion.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
And so carried. So it is now open to the floor. If anybody would like to comment on the renewal of the franchise with Cablevision of Wappinger Falls, or Altice as the parent company is.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you at the hearing on the franchise. I'm speaking strictly as a civilian here, as a resident of the village. I have been a Cablevision and Altice customer since I moved to the village of Monroe 26 years ago.
I'm sorry, could you just state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Forrest Strauss. I live at 18 Chatham Road here in the village.
The mic is on if you wish
If
to.
you want me to, talk to you. Okay, my name is Forrest Strauss. I live at 18 Chatham Road in the village here. I've been an Altice and Cablevision customer for 26 years. I've had my TV services and my internet services through them that whole time, as well as now my telephone services. I realize that my comment is only anecdotal and that there are many complicated issues involving infrastructure and how services are provided in the village, but I am very dissatisfied with Altice's services. I'm paying extra money for higher speed internet, which I'm not getting. I've complained to them repeatedly. They either refuse to come out and fix it, or when they do, they tell me that it's not a problem with any of the equipment attached to my house. They tell me they're working on it at the source, but it's nothing changes. Every night, my box resets in the middle of a television program and goes off for like 5 minutes. At the same time, it's like 8:55 at night. It resets every night. I've complained repeatedly, and they don't do anything about it. I don't know if there's any way, again, I recognize the infrastructure issues, but I don't know if there's any way that we could introduce some type of competition into the village for cable and internet services and related services. But I think a little competition might be healthy to provide an increased quality of service and perhaps even a reduction in rate. My current package with Altice is costing me well over $200 a month, and that seems really outrageous for what I'm getting. I thank you for giving me the chance to speak and for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We'll wait a few minutes.
One more minute.
Close it.
One more minute.
Okay.
Motion to close.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing for the refranchising of our cable system.
Carl will make that motion.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question, please.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
So passed. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to open a due process hearing, code violation against the Village of Monroe's property maintenance law, 711 Route 17M, SBL number 206-4-2. I need a motion to open.
Berenger will make the motion.
Carl will second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay, anybody who would like to speak about this violation, please come up.
My name is Joel Safety.
Tell the clerk, please.
Could you go up to the microphone, please, and speak clearly?
Hi, my name is Joel Safdie,
Yes?
Safdie, property manager of this property.
Mhm.
And I would like to request an extension of another week to get this done. I have some issues with my tenant, what I resolved already, and it's gonna be scheduled to be cleaned everything by this Thursday.
This Thursday is
As in 2 days from now?
the 20th,
Yes,
the 20th of
but
July?
just to make, to have enough time for a week.
You the owner of the property?
I'm the property manager.
Property manager.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to do that a little later on in the evening, the decision. Okay.
So your comments are noted, and when it comes up for a vote, the board will take that request into consideration.
Thank you.
Any other, like to speak on this? Okay, I can close it? If not, I'd like to close this. I need a motion to close.
Carl will make that motion.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay, so now we will go into our normal meeting. Just some safety things. In case of an emergency, the exit is behind you on the front of the building, the door you use to come in, and we also have an exit to the rear of the building. If everyone will please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, I need a motion to open up the regular meeting of July 18th, 2023.
Berenger will make the motion.
Carl will second.
Call?
Berenger's present. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Jumping the gun.
It's okay. Berenger is here. Ferraro?
Carl's here.
O'Connor's here.
Okay, and the motion to open the meeting?
Berenger will make the motion.
Okay.
Carl will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye. Okay.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
We are legal. Okay, I need a motion to accept the department reports as submitted by the department heads.
Berenger will make the motion.
Carl will second for just some quick discussion.
Okay,
I just wanted to bring the board up to date on the water department, namely the report for this, for the month of June. We produced a total of 41,658,468 gallons for June of 2023. At this time last year, June of 2022, was 35,628,301. So we've increased by 6 million gallons for the month a year later, which averages out to 201,000 gallon increase per day. Our total production right now is 1,388,615 gallons per day. So it's something that the board's got to start, keeping
Can
it
you
keeping it
repeat
tight.
how much per day you said?
The average right now is 201,000 increase, 201,000 gallons per day increase.
Attributable to what? Do we know?
Consumption being used, population,
Population has increased that much?
yeah. The new apartments down here aren't even really filled yet, but there's a lot going on. Of course, June was dry this month. A lot of folks filling pools and whatnot, but, Monbassia Lake is only, we've got a water taking permit for Monbassia Lake for 1.5 million gallons alone. And the well is about 600,000 gallons a day, I believe, max when we have rain.
Uh-huh.
When the groundwater is down, we can only pump that well at half its capacity. So I just wanted to make the board aware of that. and
Is
the
it
general
down with all the rain that we've gotten, or are we doing pretty good?
We're doing good now.
Yeah.
The water's flowing over Monbassia,
Okay.
and we're up, we got about 16 feet of water over top the
Okay.
submersible pump in the well, in the park.
That's a lot, boy.
But the consumptions are definitely going in an upward direction.
Yeah, a million of
Pretty
them.
quick, too. Okay. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the, we have the motion, I need a second.
And we had the second.
We did it.
I
Come on.
seconded it for
Call the
discussion.
question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay, minutes accepted. Reports accepted. Okay, now, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting as submitted by the clerk for June 20th, 2023.
Remember, if you need 3 people to vote to approve, so if,
We can't do the third one.
okay, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can't
go
do the
ahead.
third one.
Okay.
But this is for June 20th, 2023, regular meeting.
Okay.
Have a motion?
Berenger will make the
Carl.
motion.
Carl will second that.
Call the question?
Berenger's
Berenger,
first.
call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay, and I close, and now I need a motion to open the acceptance of the minutes of July 6th meeting.
Carl will make that motion.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question?
Berenger
Ferraro,
abstain.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay. And for the July 13th, we do not have a quorum to vote on that one, so that'll be tabled until the next meeting. Resolutions. Let's get started. Appointment Monroe Joint Parks and Recreation Commission. I resolve the Board of Trustees appoints resident Clarence Bell, 74 Frederick Drive, Monroe, as a commissioner to the Monroe Joint Parks and Recreation Commission with the term of expiring 12/31/28. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Berenger will second.
Anybody?
Mr. Bell here?
No, he's not. I know Mr. Bell. No, Mr. Bell is not here.
Okay.
Okay.
So I need a second?
A second.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay, call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Mr. Bell, welcome.
What?
Andy was the first. I know,
I put that,
yeah. That's
I
a
put
lot.
that in the form of a motion.
Yep.
Okay, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the appointment of Emily Azarati, 30 Prestwick Drive, to the position of summer intern. Pre-approval has been received from the Orange County Department of Civil Services. Ms. Azarati will be paid an hourly rate of $18 an hour, and I'll put that in the form of a motion, please.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question?
Who moved it? Oh,
I did.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay. Okay, resignation of part-time school resource officer, trustee Berenger.
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the resignation of part-time school resource officer David Lee, effective July 5th, 2023. The Board of Trustees wishes Dave well in his future endeavors, and I'd like to put this in the form of a motion.
Carl will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay, motion passed. Okay, resolved, appointment, part-time court clerk. Trustee Marty O'Connor, please.
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the recommendation of Village Justice Strauss and appoints Nicole Manfredonia to the position of part-time court clerk effective August 10th, 2023, at a salary of $22 an hour. And I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Carl will second that.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
She's going to work already, Forrest?
Just send her right upstairs. Right upstairs, you're not going out. Go right upstairs. Good
All right,
night.
good night.
Okay. We are going into old business. Okay. Resolution authorizing the Village of Monroe to renew cable franchise agreement with Cablevision of Wappinger Falls, for the Village of Monroe.
Okay, so I would just note for the board that this is a non-exclusive franchise, meaning that anyone else any other cable company that's interested in servicing the village can apply and have their franchise approved if the board so wishes. So whereas the Village of Monroe is a franchising authority in accordance with Title VI of the Communications Act of 1934, and is authorized to grant one or more non-exclusive cable television franchises pursuant to Article 11 of the New York Public Service Law as amended, and Title 16, Chapter 8, Parts 890.60 through 899 of the Official Compilation of Codes, Rules, and Regulations of the State of New York as amended. And whereas the village executed a franchise agreement with Cablevision of Wappinger Falls, Inc., the franchisee, on May 10, 2013, which was thereafter confirmed and made effective by the New York State Public Service Commission on October 25, 2013, for a term of 10 years. And whereas the franchise agreement will expire on October 25, 2023, and whereas the franchisee has submitted a proposed franchise renewal agreement to continue operating its system within the village, and whereas the village and franchisee have mutually agreed to the terms of said franchise renewal agreement, please add subject to approval by the village attorney. And whereas the village has determined that the franchisee is and has been in substantial compliance with all terms and provisions of its existing franchises and applicable law, and whereas the village has determined that the franchisee has the requisite legal, technical, and financial capabilities to operate a cable system within the village, and that franchisee's proposal for renewal of the franchise meets the cable-related needs of the community. And whereas a duly noticed public hearing affording an opportunity for all those interested parties within the village to be heard on the proposed renewal agreement was held before the village on July 18, 2023, and duly closed. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees determines that it is in the best interests of the public to award this non-exclusive franchise renewal agreement to the franchisee, and be it further resolved that the Village Board hereby authorizes the village mayor to enter into the franchise renewal agreement with Cablevision of Wappinger Falls, Inc., and to execute any other documents necessary to effectuate the granting of the franchisee renewal on behalf of the Village of Monroe, again, add subject to the agreement approval by the village attorney. And you will need to make a motion on that.
Okay. So, I'll make the motion as stated by our attorney.
Berenger will second.
Call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
That's it.
And I have a call with Cablevision tomorrow to go over just some of the details, but I have already opined that it's in substantial conformance with the old agreement. I do have small issues that need to be resolved, but I do not see them holding it up. And I will add that, I will look into that request for the polls.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good night. Okay, payment of authorization for the High Street water replacement. Trustee Carl, please.
Yep. Resolve the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of Village Engineer John O'Rourke, P.E., and approves payment number 8 for the release of retainage submitted by Ground Control Excavating, 63 Waterbury Road, Warwick, New York, 10990, for the High Street Water Main Replacement Project in the amount of $37,390.93. This closes out the project, with the village now releasing the retainage held for the one-year warranty period. Mayor Dwyer is hereby authorized to sign the voucher for payment, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
O'Connor will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
So passed. Attorney, Elise,
A minute.
should we read this, or do you want to read this next one? It has to do with the
Yes.
violation.
Okay, so,
It is 5C.
okay, so the board has heard from the property manager of this property. You can either move to clean it up and charge it to the applicants or the property, or you can table this until the next meeting, at which time, if it isn't cleaned up, then you can do it. So
Okay.
he has requested and stated that it will be done by the 20th. That seems fairly reasonable, so if the board wishes to table this, based on the property's representative stating that it will be cleaned up by Thursday, you can certainly do that.
Well, the only concern I have is we don't have another meeting until the middle of August.
The 15th.
So the pictures that I'm looking at here are a total disgrace. And my concern is if it's not done by the 20th, then we're off another, basically till the August 15th
Could
to
we,
make that decision. I have a problem with that.
You could provide one more week, and so notify the building inspector to let you know, and you can certainly call a special meeting.
could we just pass it now in lieu of them cleaning it? If it's not cleaned in 1 week?
You can, okay, so if the board wishes, they can adopt this and have it take effect, let's say on Friday or in 7 days.
How about in 7 days from today?
7 days from today, that's fine, and so inform the building inspector.
How about Friday?
That's the other thing, too.
Yeah, this Friday.
He's assuring us Thursday. We'll give
Saying
him the
Thursday.
benefit of the
Okay,
doubt till
so
Friday, and if it's not
Friday
cleaned
we'll
up by
have
Friday, I think we gotta
someone
move
go out.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna wind up with a rodent problem there if it's not already there. And I just,
Okay.
I
Okay,
think
so
there's
let's
been
do
ample
Friday.
time given.
So let me summarize, if that's what the board wants,
Yep.
then I would summarize this. The motion would be, okay, whereas longstanding violations, and you should get a copy of this, okay? So as per Village Code Article 1, Section 155A6E, failure to control trash and rubbish, all lands must be kept free of dead, dying trees and accumulation of brush, shrubs, weeds, grass, stumps, roots, excessive and/or noxious growths, garbage, refuse, or debris, which would either tend to start a fire, increase the intensity of fire already started, or cause poisoning or irritation to people or animals, or cause or tend to cause or enhance an unhealthy or dangerous or obnoxious condition on said property or on any adjacent or neighboring property. The specific violation here is garbage, refuse, and debris in the rear of the property, dumpsters overflowing with garbage, garbage on the ground surrounding the dumpsters, garbage in rear parking lot along concrete blocks, refuse in the rear of the building on the ground, accumulations of weeds at rear of building. There has been a failure to remedy. Whereas long-standing violations of the village's property maintenance law, Chapter 155A-6E of the Village of Monroe Code, have existed at 711 Street, Route 17M, Village of Monroe, designated as tax map number 206-4-2, and whereas the property owner has been given proper and lawful notice of said violation and has been directed to correct the violation, and whereas the property owner was given due notice of a due process hearing to be held at the Board of Trustees on July 18, 2023 at 7 p.m. And whereas the owner sent an agent, the property manager, to appear at the public hearing and stated on the record that the property will be cleaned up by July 20th. And whereas the owner has not yet taken steps to correct the violation, and the violation still exists. And whereas the Board of Trustees is authorized pursuant to Section 155A8 of the Property Maintenance Law to authorize that the village undertake to remedy such violations at the property owner's cost and expense. Be it resolved that the village clerk shall mail a certified copy of this resolution to the property owner via certified mail. Be it further resolved that any violation that remains uncorrected on the property as of 7 days from the date of this resolution,
No, it's
Friday,
Friday.
July 21st.
Right.
The Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village, its contractors, or agents to enter upon the property to correct the aforesaid violation, and that all costs incurred by the village, including administrative, legal, and corrective costs, be charged to the property owner, and such charge shall be added to the tax bill of the property owner if not paid within 30 days of the notification to the last known address of the property owner as shown on the village tax record. So essentially what this says is you've represented as an agent of the owner that the property will be cleaned up on Thursday. If it is not cleaned up by Friday, the village will clean it up and assess it against the property. You understand that? Okay, good. So you would need a motion on that?
Berenger will make the motion.
Carl will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye?
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay?
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
So I will modify that based on this. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, good, okay. So I don't need to do any, you'll do it. Okay.
Under new business, the event application, we were going to table this, or do you want to speak on this at all?
No, it should be tabled
Should be
for me
tabled.
to review it.
Okay, so for further review, it'll be tabled. Okay. Authorization, waiver of conflict. Whereas the Village of Monroe Central School Districts are working on extending the SRO agreement and are reviewing an agreement regarding identification badges for SROs, and whereas Thomas, Druhan, Waxman, Pettigrew, and Maley, LLP, presently serve as labor counsel to the Village of Monroe and tax certiorari,
Okay.
counsel to the school district. Now therefore be it resolved that the board waives any potential conflict of interest that might otherwise exist and authorizes TDWPM to work on the SRO agreement and an agreement regarding identification badges for SROs. And be it further resolved that the board hereby authorizes the mayor to execute a waiver of conflict on the village's behalf. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Berenger will second.
Any questions? Anybody? No, we're good? Okay, call the question.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
And so passed. Okay, this one's near and dear to my heart. Village owns property selling of beer and wine during events. pursuant to Chapter 67, the consumption of alcoholic beverages on public land within the village, which includes any highway, street, sidewalk, park, or playground, or in the parking lot of any shopping center during a fair, picnic, or other community gatherings for which special permission has been granted by the village, or to outdoor sidewalk cafes as defined under the village's code is permitted. Resolved, the Board of Trustees will allow the sale of beer and wine during concert events on Lake Street between the ponds in a designated area that is clearly labeled. The retailer must have an approval temporary beer, wine, or cider permit from the New York State Liquor Authority. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
I would just note, Trustee Ferraro, that 67-4, the exceptions apply to permission granted by the village. Typically, that is a village-sponsored event. Okay?
Okay.
I don't think you need to modify the resolution, but, okay. I would also further note that, just for the public's edification, that although it may be sold and consumed, you can't walk around with an open container.
Well, that's why it's in a designated area,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Should we not have wordage in there for appropriate insurance?
We don't need it.
We don't need it?
No, I looked into it. I contacted the liquor authority. We are the landlords, and we just give permission to allow them to sell their product within our property. It is up to them to insure themselves. It's no different than if they were in their own facility.
And it'll be our local areas.
It'll only be for the village,
Excellent, okay.
only for the village.
So you would want to make sure they have an up-to-date license?
Yes, absolutely. There's a list to go through, absolutely.
Berenger will second.
Well, they have to get,
Question?
they have to get an off-premise, they have to have an
Yeah, they
off-premise
have to have an
license to get that
off-premise, yes.
from Liquor Authority.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
Okay, the New York Division of Homeland Security. Trustee
say
Berenger?
something?
I'm sorry.
Public comments.
Should go into
again,
public
yeah.
comment.
Comments at the end of the night. Trustee Berenger?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the attendance of Detective Peyton, Officer Hanson, and Officer Beach to the New York State Division of Homeland and Emergency Services Officer Survival Tactics course on August 8th through August 10th, 2023 in, I'm going to say, Oriskany, New York. This training is designed to place officers in reality-based scenarios to improve their overall situational awareness and survivability skills. There is no cost for the training and lodging. I'd like to put this in the form of a motion.
Carl will second for discussion.
Okay.
The only thing I have, we're having 3 officers out at the same time in August, which is summertime's usually our busy month. Is everything staffed? I mean, shifts covered?
Should be, I'll check with Chief, but I would think, I mean,
Yeah, because I mean, that's, to have 3 guys out at the same time during the summer is,
Did this
I would
request
think that's
come
the
from
way
the
to-
chief?
I believe it did. Let me look in here, because I can't imagine they wouldn't have it covered.
well, yeah, I mean, there's
can
no
make it
cost to the
subject
training and the lodging, but
to
we're gonna have to put
coverage.
people
You
on
can-
overtime to cover their shifts.
You can make the approval subject to conferring with the chief to ensure to the board's satisfaction that
I just want to make sure we got proper staffing.
the,
That's-
right. So you can certainly add that,
Okay.
subject to the chief, conferring with the chief to make sure proper staffing.
Okay. So you want to just call it that way, Debbie? Or so you don't have to wait for it?
Yeah, okay. Am I wording that, or Kim or Elise is wording that? Okay. Okay.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
And so passed, based on that. Okay. Counsel, do you want the next one?
Yes. Whereas by resolution dated July 13, 2023, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Monroe authorized the village mayor, staff, attorney, engineer consultants, and the village's special legal counsel to do all such things necessary to acquire title to property commonly known as 47 Lakes Road, SBL 211-1-1 by eminent domain, consistent with the authority vested in the village pursuant to New York Eminent Domain Procedure Law, EDPL, and preserve said property for the public benefit. And whereas to provide the public an opportunity to review the public use to be served by acquiring the property, and provide all interested persons an opportunity to present oral or written statements and to submit other documents concerning the acquisition of the property to be acquired. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees shall hold a public hearing on said proposed acquisition at Village Hall, 7 Stage Road, Monroe, New York, at 7 p.m. on August 15, 2023. Be it further resolved that the village clerk shall publish or cause to be published public notice in the official newspaper of the Village of Monroe in accordance with the provisions of the EDPL. You need a motion on that.
Berenger will make the motion.
Carl will second that.
Calls a question?
Correct.
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
So passed. Okay. Request to travel. NICOM annual meeting, Mayor Dwyer, Trustee O'Connor. Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the attendance of Mayor Neil Dwyer and Trustee Martin O'Connor at the New York Conferences of Mayors and Municipal Officials annual meeting in Lake Placid, New York, from September 18th through September 22nd, 2023. Approximate cost, total cost for the conference, including program fees and hotel stay, is $2,490 and shall be allocated from budget line A1210.4100. Mayor general expenses in the amount of $1,245 and budget line A1010.4100. Trustee general expenses in the amount of $1,245. Personal vehicles will be used and a voucher will be submitted for mileage reimbursement. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Carl will second that.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
So passed. And final item on the agenda is the appointment of consultant for Architectural Review Board. Resolved, the Board of Trustees appoints architect Jeff Wilkinson, 13 Chamber Street, Newburgh, New York, as a consultant for the Architectural Review Board. The Architectural Review Board is tasked with the review and recommendations to the Planning Board on improved projects throughout the Village of Monroe. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Berenger will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, I.
Carl, I.
O'Connor, aye.
And so passed.
I would just note that the Architectural Review Board functions right now are vested in the Planning Board. Okay?
Yes. And that is for the general. The mayor is not here, so there is no report, and I don't have anything for it. Attorney?
What, wait,
I got a couple
I'm
things.
sorry? That was it?
that was it.
That's okay. That's all right. Counsel, do you have anything?
I do not.
I got a couple things real quick.
Okay, go.
First, the fireworks. We used a new vendor this year. I thought it went very well. Unfortunately, there was a mix-up with the patriotic music that was supposed to be played, and unfortunately, that wasn't. But the fireworks show themselves, I thought, were very good, and I'd like to see the village look to engage with Garden State next year, in the near future.
Yeah, I don't have a
I
problem there.
agree. I think they did
agree.
a really good job.
Okay, and secondly, the Forshee Street asbestos water main job replacement will start the second week of August. So it's probably going to be about 2 weeks. They should be hopefully in and out of there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's about 1,000 feet, 1,060 feet of main got to go in, and the service lines, so.
Quick.
We met with them the other day, we had a pre-construction meeting, and it looks like we're on target for the second week of August.
Fantastic.
That's all I have.
I agree. I think the fireworks were great. The firefighters made some really good hot dogs. I enjoyed that. I think it was pretty well attended considering we had to change the date, you know.
Only 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah.
Came off pretty well. Okay, any comments from the public, please? Just come up, give your name to the clerk, and then come to the microphone.
Just go to my height because I'm small. So, you guys already know me, but the people in the back may not. I'm the animal activist slash only one that really follows through with any kind of animal, I guess, advocacy. So, I do get called out occasionally to help with a transport on different animals to rescues, and the volume of people is growing, and I understand the town is changing. And I did have to mention that I did see the village and the ponds cleaned to a point where it's sanitary, but I've been here since the 70s, and I think the geese do deserve to live here. Now, I do understand they poop. I understand, and people are offended by that, but I also like to see them waddling around and swimming. So right now, they're gone. There is not one goose. I've looked for 4 days. There's a couple things happening. We have Canada with the smoke coming down that is causing, as you know, hazard, for our breathing as it is. But I did contact the Animal Protection League of New Jersey, and she's talked to the mayor, and the mayor did respond back and forth to her. And we're trying to get, on August 15th, she's going to come in and do a speech. And what it is, it's coexisting. It's learning that these animals, there's a fact that you need to know. In the 1920s to the 1930s, the migratory Canadian geese did fly from Canada down the East Coast. They also take down the West Coast. And what happened was, over a period of time in the 1950s, a big hunting kill went on. And when the kill went on, they took out the migratory birds, the birds that actually knew in their head, in their genes, the migratory paths. So over years, the Canadians and also the upper New Yorkers decided to implement a breeding program. So once they implemented, and very few people know this because I did a lot of research, so you should understand this because this is fascinating, and just fascinating. So they, the New York State, Canada, what they did was breeding programs. And they started to take baby geese, breed them, because they almost hunted them to extinction. So although you see Canadian geese a lot today, there's a reason. They are called homebodies. The ones now that do not leave, they don't leave for a reason. So the ones that were rounded up or killed or hunted, and also in population control, were the genetically, I'm going to say, the leaders. So when they took the leaders out, they took out the genetic form in their brains, kind of a GPS to tell them when to go. So right now, this is what we have. We have Canadian geese that have become homebodies, and that means these geese were implemented and dropped into villages and towns all over the East Coast and up to Canada. And once they realized that the ponds or there was food year-round and were fed by humans, they decided not to leave and not to migrate. So I feel, in a way, that we shouldn't punish them for that. I think the mayor's been really good. He did hire the USDA to come in to use the remote control cars, which I was okay with. I'm okay with that. The remote control cars were used around the ponds, and I liked that. That worked for me. And the other thing is, I think he used boats. He used some boats in the ponds. But I have physically witnessed the village DPW, although I love them and they're my personal friends, use the lawnmowers all around the ponds to scare them off. And I just feel at this point I had to call the Animal League in. So you can't use, DPW equipment to chase I've witnessed it. I already talked to the mayor, shot him a text and an email, that if I see it and I put it online, this town of Monroe will go crazy, and the people for the ethical treatment of animals will come down on this village like you haven't even seen before. So I would rather not have that happen. So I'm trying to negotiate with you with the Animal League. They're going to come on August 15th. They're going to do a demonstration and try to explain to you about these things called buffer zones, ways that we can coexist with them, that you don't have to take them fully out. We can learn to live with them a little bit. I know they're offensive. The dogs are also, they're using dogs. The people that have pet dogs now, I actually had a confrontation with a gentleman at the pond where he ran his dog right up to the geese. And I mean, at this point, I'm about to lose my mind. I mean, I can really stand so much, but I can't have anything. I actually rescue the ones that are hit I take them to rehabilitation centers. I nurse the ones that are sick. I do a lot, but I just can't abide mistreatment of these animals, where they don't even have the ability to know where they're supposed to go. The ones that are staying here for the winter, they will fly to local ponds that are open and stay. So apparently we, which is humans, have taken their genetic makeup and messed them up by culling. So the ones that really knew where to go, they don't know where to go anymore, and they don't want to. So my thing is I just wanted to let you know that I am trying to work with you. So there is, her name is Doreen, and she's going to come on August 15th. I'll probably be here with her too, and maybe a few other people with a little demonstration with pictures and shows you about buffer zones and how you can make the pond still clean, which I understand you have 4th of July parties, you have music festivals, nobody wants to be stepping in it, but they were here before us. And at one point, we have to learn to coexist with other things, right? Don't we? Don't we have to? Because right now, there's nothing at the pond. There's not one goose. There hasn't been a goose at the pond in a couple of days. So I do monitor. There's mallard ducks. All the mallards are left. The pigeons are missing. And the seagulls. There's not one seagull. There's not one pigeon. The pigeons, wild pigeons, are all gone. So for me, I'm like, where are all the animals going? I don't know. There was a wild group of pigeons. I spoke to the taxi driver, Gwen. She said she had to remove hers from the village because you didn't like it. So she moved them up to Montgomery, and she had to remove her pigeon coop from over by Roscoe's. But she said that you had a whole flock of wild pigeons. They're gone. So I just don't know where the animals are going. And it's freaking me out. But I just want to let you know that that's what I'm going to do going forward. You know, Doreen is coming from the Animal League of New Jersey. She's going to do a nice little demonstration for you. And it's just about coexisting.
Will you give all that information to the clerk so that we can prepare for the meeting if she needs to be a
I
monitor?
can give
if
her
she-
your phone number. Can I give her your phone number and you
I would
email
just
her and
note
talk directly
that
to her?
August 15th might not be a good time to schedule a presentation.
It might be a tough meeting.
Well, I'm just saying there's a public hearing for eminent domain on that
Yeah.
date.
She
so
could probably make it pretty quick. She's not going to use a slideshow.
It's up to the board to put
Or
it
she
on
could
the
do it
agenda.
privately. I mean, I could I could talk to her and then we could,
Ever get the information, and we'll have to make that decision. If it's going to be a tough meeting, it might not work. But she's welcome to come and absolutely show us everything.
and thank you for possibly taking the Roscoe. That's also been driving me crazy, and that's where some of my Canadian geese
There's a
go.
lot,
So,
there's quite a few back
There's
there.
a lot there.
just to let you know, it's the only place that's untouched. So I think that they're hiding there. Fireworks were a really bad deal for them, so they might have went over there and just said, I'm going over there. So there might be some hiding there, but she's going to do it in a nice, situation.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Hello.
How are you? Richard Goldstein. Been a long time since I've actually come down to speak to a board. I'm coming down here tonight pretty much as, I'm speaking just as a concerned citizen, and I'm hoping that this board will listen to some of the information that I've been able to dig up over the last couple of days. I want to start by saying that everything that I'm saying here tonight has nothing to do with discriminatory actions. I feel the same way about any person within the village or town of Monroe that wants to do any development, any building, regardless of whether it's religious, a commercial entity, a dentist's office, I don't care what it is, okay? It's all the same as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure that this board is very familiar with the Arlupa Act, and for the members of the audience that are not familiar with that, this is the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. I feel that through some of my research that a lot of municipalities are misinterpreting what the expectations of this law are and what the expectations of them as a board in making decisions as to what's going to happen within a municipality. On December 15th, 2016, the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division submitted a letter to every municipality, every county official in the state of New York. The reason that this letter was sent out was because of the confusion within municipalities on what was permitted and what was not. As I read through this letter, and I did send a copy of this to Mayor Dwyer, I sent a copy of it to Trustee Carl. Whether or not that's expanded to the entire board or not, I don't know, and I think that it should be, including to the village attorney. There's a lot of really good information in this, I believe it's a 6-page letter. And I think that the letter should be read, and I think the interpretation of this letter should require this village board, or at least the village attorney, to investigate this further, and there is a contact on this letter to reach out with any questions and concerns regarding development and approvals within a municipality. I don't know if I want to go on and read this whole thing because it's quite extensive, but I do want to point out one line item that's on page 3, which basically spells out, and it says it, I'm going to read it verbatim. It says, to be clear, our LUPA does not provide a blanket exemption from local zoning or landmarking laws. Rather, it contains a number of safeguards to prevent discriminatory, unreasonable, or unjustifiably burdens regulations from hindering religious exercise ordinarily before seeking recourse from RLUIPA. The way I'm reading this, and the way I've interpreted some of the law that I've gone through, and by no means am I a lawyer, do I make myself out to be a lawyer, but I do make myself out to be a person who can see the obvious. And I am seeing the obvious. I've been in business for 43 years. I run a very large landscaping company. I'm in Southern Orange County. I'm in Bergen County, New Jersey. Okay, I can read and I can understand. I think the reason that this letter came out is because municipalities are making very poor decisions. And I'm sorry if somebody takes this as discriminatory, but if the shoe fits, wear it. Okay, we are being forced as a municipality to come up with laws to protect us from the unthinkable, okay? And what I mean by the unthinkable is people are doing things that we would never think to do, okay? And they're getting away with it. I'm gonna give you an example, okay? I was a developer for many years. I developed for probably a good 16 years. I developed probably close to 40 lots. I built over 7 homes. I gave up the home building because it was a waste. When I was doing this stuff, I was subject to a lot of information that I had to supply. Engineering, environmental impact studies, police and fire studies, zoning approval, code approval, impervious coverage approval when I was building, the amount of bedrooms I could put on a lot for the sewer consumption that was going on. Okay, all of these things are factors that were taken in. Currently, across the street from me, they're renovating a house right now, which I have a copy of the building permit. They've already removed the garage. They had double doors going into the garage. At one point, there was 5 toilet bowls sitting on that driveway. Don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's a major commercial restroom. Okay? The building permit clearly states that they're going out 11 feet in the back, the full width of the house, down to the basement, putting a pool in the basement. Okay? They are now taking this 3,000 square foot house and turning it into almost a 5,000 square foot house, okay? There's rules that were put into place when this house was built. There was a permit that was issued, a use permit for this house that allowed them to have so many bedrooms, to produce so many gallons of raw sewage a day, and so many gallons of water. I challenge any one of you to go out there on a Monday morning just to see the garbage that's out in front of that house. Okay? This property is being treated as a commercial piece of property. I don't care if you want to call it a temple, a shul, a church, a dentist office. It doesn't matter. The property is being used commercially. When you read through this here, this letter, one of the topics in this letter clearly states that the fact that you can't drive to a religious institution does not grant you the right to just put one anywhere you want. especially when there's available parcels within the municipality that comply to the zoning that you can do it. You guys are behind the 8 ball here. Somebody needs to wake up. Somebody needs to understand that these things cannot be done in a residential community. Around the corner from me on Cunningham and Forge, I believe it is, okay? A house was raised over 3 feet off the foundation, windows removed from the downstairs. I believe a pool was put into the house. Great, go swimming in your house. I'm all for it. Here's where the problem begins. The driveway was removed, the curb was closed up, the DPW, whoever's in charge of your DPW, allowed them to do another curb cut on Cunningham, which wasn't there to begin with, and that is a graveled area on the side of that house that is a parking lot. This is a residential neighborhood. These poor people that live there, they don't deserve to be looking at 40 cars across the street from them while they're trying to live in peace. That is a business. That is a business. I don't care what anybody says. That is a business. We need to wake up and we need to do something about it. There's a contact on this letter that'll help you interpret the law a hell of a lot better than anybody else can, because it seems like every municipality going from New York City all the way up to Sullivan County is afraid of this law. This law was put into place to protect people's rights to religion, regardless of who you are. This law was not put into place to allow you to do whatever the hell you want because of your religion. My last name's Goldstein. I'm Jewish. I get along with everybody on my street. I talk to them every Saturday. They stop, they look at my house, they're like, look at your property. Your property is gorgeous. Your lawn is green. How do you do it, they ask me. I said, you ever hear of Sherwin-Williams? I joke with them. I tell them I paint it. Listen, I get along with everybody, okay? But we have to start looking at what's going on here. We don't see this happening all over the place, but it's going to get a lot worse. I'm encouraging this village to have their attorney write a letter. I think this gentleman's name is Eric Toohey. It's on here now, just for further interpretation of how you allow these things to happen. Now, I don't want to belabor this any longer, but I was thinking to myself while I was sitting here before, I'm like, you know, they're probably putting in an application for a permit to renovate a home, okay? They're not putting in an application to say, we're going to make this a church, we're going to make this a mosque, we're going to make this a temple, whatever. It doesn't matter. These things are getting approved and they're getting passed, okay? Which I'm not really sure how some of these things are getting approved and passed, because they're tremendously out of line with the residential community. But if you go there and see what they're being used as, you would understand that they're being used more as a commercial entity, okay? When I see 75 people walk out of a house on a Saturday morning at about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, that's a lot of people, okay? It goes on till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Fine, you want to do that, do it, that's fine, go for it. But do it within a zone that's allowed. Do it where it's allowed. And if the village says, hey, you can do this here, I'm done, I'm fine. Then the village says you can do it here. I just don't see how. I was shot down in developments for the dumbest things in the world, okay? I don't see this stuff going through planning, zoning, environmental impact studies. I don't see any of this happening. Can somebody tell me that this is happening? And if so, I want to see these studies. This is impacting the residents of this community. It's presenting a hardship for this community. You people need to look at what you're doing. Thank you.
Good evening, Arnold Toome, 86 Winchester Drive. I feel for my neighbor, because I live right next door. I stood in front of all of you for several meetings back in November, December, said everything he just said and foreseen what was going to happen, and it's happened. And I know we probably won't get any resolution to what he's saying, but what I'm seeing there Environmental impact reports, not happening, without a doubt. When you can make a 5,000 square foot open format, house, you know, the house is 3,000 square feet now, and up to 75 people come out of that house at a given time with 25 to 50 cars parked there on a given time. You double that house, we're talking hundreds of cars on a street that can't handle parking on both sides and can't handle two-way traffic. Something has to get done. You can't. The safety of children running into the street between cars, I've seen all near accidents, speeding school buses, which still happen, coming down in between double parked cars on a street, and cars coming down the street playing chicken against each other, who's gonna go first, is crazy. This was a quiet neighborhood a year ago. Now it's a disaster. It is literally that disaster, and it's only gonna get worse as the winter months come and its evening hours come earlier and it's darker, and I'm telling you, there's nothing but a disaster waiting to happen. And I just don't know how you could put that size house in a residential neighborhood without parking for that facility. I just don't know how you're gonna do it and have all those cars park on that street. So I feel for my neighbor. He lives right across the street. He's got 3 high beam headlights coming off that house that were just installed into his house that he can't even go to bed at night. So I just don't, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what the resolution is, but it doesn't seem like we're moving in the right direction. I'm just talking about that. And I'm only supporting his position, but because I came here to talk about, I noticed the signs in the village still say on November 1st, 10 p.m., there's no parking on village streets. I need to know if the law is going back when you abruptly changed it last year to midnight and never changed any of the signs. I have family members that don't want to come and visit me because they can't park, and I'm saying, no, the law's changed. I said, no, the signs still take 10 o'clock. I'm not coming over to watch football game because I'm going to get a ticket. So you either change the signs or change the law back. Something, have you discussed this at all?
Yes.
Okay. Has there been any decisions or resolution?
We have discussed changing the time back the way it was.
Okay. When do you think you'll come to resolution to that? Because, we're in July, and you know what? November comes quick this time of the year. It's kind of sneaky. It sneaks up on you, right? October, November.
We will have a resolution for that.
Okay. Because it's very confusing, because all the signs still say 10 o'clock November. And I got family members who used to, and I lost a whole year with family on Sunday evenings and Mondays, because they won't come and watch the football games anymore, because they're gonna get a ticket. But yet, everybody across the street at 85 Winchester Drive can stay there as late as they want and not get tickets. That's not fair. I think we gotta be clear on what our laws are. Either change the signs or put the law back. So, excuse me? So, I don't know who I follow up on that, because I don't know how that's gonna be communicated, or,
Just contact the clerk in about, give us a little time.
okay, no,
The clerk will have the answer.
fair enough, it's documented, we talked. Thank you for your time.
All right. Have a good night.
Anyone else, please?
I don't have any business before the court, but I just moved here. I moved here from the city. I've been coming up here for, oh, I'm so sorry, Christina Chapman. Just moved here from the city. I've been coming up here for the last 10 years. I've seen this community change quite a bit, indeed. My Moto sister, you guys see, I have the helmet back there. She bought property up on Mountain Lodge. I know that's not anything to do with Village of Monroe, but I just wanted to come in because my granddaddy and my father both served on the Board of Trustees for the Village of Stone Mountain, where I'm originally from in Georgia. So I just kind of wanted to come up here and thank y'all, because I know it can be a very thankless job. I used to come to the meetings quite a bit. So I hope that I can be a helpful citizen living here now within the village. I'm further up in Mountain Lodge, but I just wanted to introduce myself. And I'm hoping to start a little acting school here eventually. So, thank you very much.
Good.
Welcome.
Good work, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And Sherwin, it's a big job.
Anyone else? Okay. So, I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting to go into executive session.
You're not closing the meeting.
I'm
you're
not
just- You're just going into
Going into
executive
executive session. I'm sorry.
Berenger will second.
Call the question?
Berenger, aye.
Ferraro, aye.
Carl, aye.
O'Connor, aye.
And so passed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Do you need a water? John, do you need a water?
Yeah, I'll take one, please.
Please, please.
Tim, do you want